Time now for the St. Johnsbury Chrysler Dodge Jeep Rams Outdoor Edge on YKR Country.
That's right. Welcome to the St. Johnsbury Chrysler Dodge Jeep Rams Outdoor Edge right here on WYKR, serving Northeast Vermont and Northwest New Hampshire. I'm Josh, and we've got another great show lined up for you. This week, Gary Moritz sits down with Steve Agius of the Silvio O Conte National Fish and Wildlife Refuge to talk about Vermont's Nulhegan Basin Division. From wildlife habitat and bird watching to hiking, paddling, hunting, and conservation, you'll learn why this remarkable refuge is one of Northeast Kingdom's true natural treasures. We'll also bring you our summer activities report, where Jason Cartwright, president of the Landaff Volunteer Fire Association, joins us to preview this year's Landaff Old Home Day. From the famous community auction and family activities to great food, live entertainment, and hometown tradition, it's one of the highlights of the summer in this northern New Hampshire. And as always, Mark Breen from the Fairbanks Museum joins us with your Outdoor Edge forecast to help you plan your time outside. It's chock-a-block full, and so we're just going to jump right into it, folks.
Good evening. Welcome to Thoughts on Out of Doors. My guest tonight is Steve Agius from the Conte National Wildlife Refuge. He is the manager for Vermont and New Hampshire division. So, Steve, tell us a little bit about yourself.
All right, Gary, thank you for having me. As you mentioned, I am the refuge manager for the Conte Refuge for the New Hampshire and Vermont divisions. Our office is outside of Island Pond, the Nulhegan Basin office and visitor center. And the staff at the office, the few of us that are remaining there, manage all of the Vermont and New Hampshire divisions, which at this point, it's about 36,000 acres spread across 10 different properties. The Conte Refuge itself is unique. It is a watershed-based national wildlife refuge. It spans throughout the 7.2 million acre Connecticut River watershed. So we have land divisions from the Quebec border down to the Long Island Sound. And we have another office in Massachusetts, in Hadley, Massachusetts as well. We focus a lot on habitat restoration and improving wildlife biodiversity. It's a lot of our focus. Also on recreation and research as well.
Yeah, if my recollection is the Conte goes back to what, 1977?
The refuge was established in 1999, but there were conversations about establishing it long before that. But
Okay.
Conte Refuge
was named after Silvio Conte, a longtime advocate for the river.
Yes, sir, absolutely. Silvio Conte was a congressman from Massachusetts, and it was his dream to have a clean Connecticut River that you could swim in and drink out of, and have, free-running river with Atlantic salmon, and we aspire to some of those. We haven't gotten to all of them yet.
I remember meeting with him several times back in the late 70s when they formed the Connecticut River Atlantic Salmon Commission, CRASC. I was an original member, and then when I became the commissioner of Vermont, I stayed on as the state member. Anyways, we met with Silvio many times because he definitely was an advocate for the river.
Absolutely, yeah, and a lot of his desires, his dreams still carry on throughout the Connecticut River Watershed Partnership. There are 75 at least organizations throughout the Connecticut River that work together as a partnership for conservation all throughout the 4 watershed states, and the Conte Refuge is part of that partnership.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, people say, well, he was a Massachusetts congressman, but let's be reminded that rivers flow downhill.
Yes.
Massachusetts and Connecticut are going to get whatever we dump in Vermont and New Hampshire.
Or they are the beneficiaries of clean water that come from the north.
Well, that's what I mean.
Flow down to the
absolutely.
south. Yeah.
So his interest was not just Massachusetts. He fully understood the ramifications of a watershed.
Yeah. And if you look at some of the divisions, the further north you go in the watershed, the larger the Conte divisions are. Nulhegan Basin outside of Island Pond is just under 27,000 acres. Pondicherry Division in New Hampshire is about 6,500 acres. The Muskoma River Division is at least 10,000 acres at this time.
Yeah.
So some large acreage that are being managed in a way for sustainable timber harvesting, but also really focusing on improving biodiversity,
Right.
which ultimately is going to lead to clean water coming into the river.
Right. Yeah. I mean, there's no doubt that Vermont and New Hampshire have the largest amount of acreage as part of the refuge. But like you say, what happens here affects what happens downstream.
It does. It does indeed. And from an economic standpoint, when we're looking at acquisition of lands, because there was a 10-year process in which there were at least 50, maybe 75 scoping meetings throughout the watershed where the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service met with community members, met with different organizations, met with state agencies. And we said, where on the landscape would it be beneficial for the federal government to be engaged with protection of these sub watersheds? So when you look at the Pompanousek, or you look at the Muskoma, or you look at Nulhegan, those are all areas where collectively communities came together and said, yes, this is where we would like to have more conservation, and that's exactly where the Fish and Wildlife Service is investing its time and resources.
Right. Before you became manager up here, did you work for the Fish and Wildlife Service other places?
I have. I've worked for the Fish and Wildlife Service since 2001. I bounced around a little bit in that time period. I've worked for the U.S. Forest Service. I've worked for National Park Service. Worked on refuges for a number of years. I was a research biologist for about a decade, doing seabird research in the Gulf of Maine and the coast of California, and then 2 stints in Antarctica. So I definitely have a depth of a background in wildlife biology, but now I've been in the management series for the past probably 15 years. So before I moved back to the Northeast Kingdom, was a manager overseeing a Maine complex in northern and down east Maine. So
good.
That's what I've been doing
and worked in Antarctica though, huh?
Yeah. Worked with penguins, doing research on penguins, did 2 6-month stints in Antarctica.
Well, that's a subject we ought to talk about some other day.
Sure, certainly.
Sounds very interesting. Anyways, you have a very varied background, which obviously brings great benefits to your current position.
Yeah.
Before I get too far into this, how many people did you lose or whatever in the reduction? I know virtually every Park Service, the Fish and Wildlife Service, you lost a lot of employees that impact how you can operate.
Sure. There have been reductions in staffing for a number of years now. It's not something... something new. It's not something entirely new. If you look at the 2010 roughly was the high point in staffing with U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. From 2010 up until about 2 years ago, there have been roughly 25 to 30% reduction in staffing across the Fish and Wildlife Service. And then there has been the opportunity for employees that want to take early retirement. There have not been any forced, no one's been forced out of their positions. So.
I guess what I'm asking or trying to ask, you have a very small staff to begin with.
We do.
To take care of a pretty large area with a lot of different things happening. How many people do you have now between Pondicherry and Nulhegan?
Out of the Nulhegan office, and that office oversees all of the Vermont and New Hampshire divisions of the Conte Refuge. That's 10 divisions, about 36,000 acres. There are 3 of us remaining.
Wow.
Including myself.
Yeah. Wow. Well, I remember a couple of years ago, I did a story about a big culvert replacement.
Yeah.
And I think your forester was running an excavator, or I don't know. I know you all have to do a little bit of everything.
Yes.
You're not restricted to your job title.
That is the beauty of the job, Gary. That's what makes it fun. I unfortunately spend too much time in the office behind a computer, but I still get to go out and mark timber for upcoming timber harvests. I still get to go out and we've got a radio collaring project coming up with snowshoe hare. We could be out doing wood turtle marking and putting transmitters of wood turtle. So there there's still the opportunity to get out, but we have some very skilled and some very dedicated staff. And though one person might be in a specific job series, they might also be very skilled and competent as a heavy equipment operator or a mechanic. So it's that diversity that makes the job exciting.
Yeah. Well, if I could editorialize a little bit, my experience in a number of, since the refuge was established, dealing with the personnel on the Conte, everybody I've dealt with is very professional, but more important than that, they all just seem so dedicated to the project.
Yes. And I think that's a great observation. My experience over the past 25 years working for the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service is the employees are a very dedicated bunch. Yeah. They show up to work because they love what they do.
They take pride in what the result is.
Absolutely. So that culvert project that you mentioned, that was a 7-foot diameter culvert that had been crushed. It had been in the ground for decades. And we removed it in-house with our own staff, our own equipment, and then we replaced it with a 35-foot bridge. The Nulhegan Basin itself has about 40 plus miles of gravel roads. There's hundreds of culverts, various crossings, really excellent brook trout habitat. So a lot of what we focus is on aquatic organism passage. And what we're finding is many of the culverts that have existed for decades are undersized. They're no longer capable of accommodating the amount of water associated with the severity and duration of storms.
But they were put in by the timber companies for logging operations, which were never intended to last very long.
And the use on that landscape has changed a lot.
Right.
Has changed a lot. So we're
I grew up on that land and local hunting camps and so forth. Yeah. And usually within a year of them stopping logging a certain area, the road was washed out, the culverts were washed out because they were undersized.
Yeah, and we're spending a lot of time and resources these days making sure that those primary access roads are able to withstand those storms. We lost our second largest bridge 2 years ago in a storm, and that bridge, North Branch Bridge, should be completed by the end of July. But that's a significant investment.
Well, I think that's a good place for us to pause for a moment.
It's a St. Johnsbury Chrysler Dodge Jeep Rams Outdoor Edge on YKR Country.
At R&L Archery, we know it's not just about the thrill of the hunt or the size of the fish. It's about the moments that matter most, the traditions passed down from one generation to the next, and the stories told by the fire long after the sun is set. It's about the journey, the memories, and the time spent together with friends and family, because these are the moments that truly last a lifetime. R&L Archery, where every adventure begins. Come create your story.
We live somewhere incredible, and all of us at the Vermont Fish and Wildlife Department want you to make the most of it. Hiking, hunting, birding, fishing, or even just sitting by a stream for a few minutes after work. Vermont's woods and waters make it possible, and protecting them is our responsibility. So we hope you'll lace up your boots and hike an old woods road on one of our wildlife management areas, or put in for a day at the lake at one of our access areas. We protect these places for their own sake, for the wildlife who call them home, and for you.
Miles Supply, your stop for all your general business products, paper towels, toilet paper, first aid kits, and more. Purchase your paper and soap products from Miles, and they'll install the dispensers for free. Do you own a salon, restaurant, coffee shop, or gym making a monthly run to the big box store for your business supplies? Save time with Miles Supply. Call today for a sales visit, 476-3963, or walk directly into their showroom, 143 Boynton Street next to Spalding High School. Miles Supply, family-owned and building relationships since 1954.
Dog people know that sit is sometimes treated as a suggestion. Stay lasts 3 seconds, and come means run in the opposite direction. Countrified Kennels LLC offers professional training for puppies, adult dogs, and every lovable troublemaker in between. Choose from private in-home lessons, obedience programs, behavior training, or 3 and 6 week board and train options. They even provide follow-up lessons to help the training continue at home. Turn selective hearing into dependable obedience. Visit countrifiedkennels.com.
Welcome back to Thoughts on the Outdoors. If you're just joining us, my guest tonight is Steve Agius, the manager of the Conte National Wildlife Refuge Nulhegan Division, which includes the Pondicherry Division. Steve, let's talk about some of the exciting work that's in the progress and the plan for the Nulhegan Division?
Yeah, so a few years ago, Gary, the Refuge staff completed a required habitat management plan. And as with any federal agency that's doing natural resource management, when you develop these plans, it's an opportunity for the public to weigh in on what's going to occur on these public lands, because these public lands belong to the American public. So we want to make sure that when we're prescriptively treating these habitats, that it's falling within the legislated purposes of the refuge, but also what the public is expecting to see on that property. So there's a number of habitat management actions that we conduct across the Nulhegan Basin, not on a regular basis, because a lot of it actually is very contingent on the timber market and what the value is,
Right.
for pulps or for chips. So there are 3 areas that are early successional management areas. We used to call them woodcock management areas, but they're managed for early successional, and those are what I would call a checkerboard mosaic of small clear cuts.
Which woodcock in the early stages?
Yes, and we do quite a bit of woodcock research. We've been working with partners from the University of Maine out of the Orono campus to be tagging woodcock, and also with the state of Vermont putting and also the Nature Conservancy putting tags on woodcocks to look at where do they travel to when they migrate, where are their stopover sites, trying to get a better understanding of habitat utilization.
How long is that woodcock tagging been going on?
It's going on. It's been we haven't tagged any this year or last year. We did, I think, for 3 consecutive years.
Okay. So you've got a bit of a history of and where they go and so forth.
Yes, and it takes place all the way from Atlantic Canada all the way down to Florida, I think over into Tennessee as well. So there's been a large banding effort.
Okay.
But these early successional management areas are really key for bringing woodcock in, because that is the habitat that they want. We manage those specifically for woodcock. Also makes excellent woodcock hunting in the fall as well. So early successional management is one thing that we're doing. There's the field management that kind of goes along with that, and that's for a lot of pollinators. That could be from bees to butterflies. So we do specific mowing regimes after August 1st. We don't do any cutting, any harvesting until August 1st, because we are a breeding bird migratory refuge. We don't do any treatments until after August 1st. In addition to those, we've been doing quite a bit of pre-commercial thinning or variable density thinning, where we hire saw crews to go out and they remove a certain diameter tree from that habitat to help the existing trees grow larger, grow faster. A lot of the Nulhegan Basin was cut heavily during the spruce budworm outbreak in the 70s and 80s. There is a bit of a legacy on the landscape remaining from that, where it shifted the natural community away from a spruce fir habitat into more right now of a more intolerant hardwood habitat, and we're trying to shift it back to a spruce fir.
Okay.
Nulhegan Basin is the largest undeveloped lowland spruce fir habitat in the state of Vermont. So it's a large cold basin. Historically is one of the coldest places in Vermont year after year. Right. Every winter there's just cold air pools in the Nulhegan Basin. So because of that, you have a number of species that are associated with that subboreal habitat. Moose and lynx for certain, Canada jay, blackback woodpecker, boreal chickadee, spruce grouse. Those are all species that you find at the Nulhegan Basin.
Which you're not going to find in a lot of the rest of Vermont.
Correct. They're
in Hampshire.
Correct. They're unless you move to a higher elevation in some cases, but that
gray jays tend to be at a certain elevation.
Yes. Yeah. But even snowmobilers that go out in Nulhegan Basin in the winter, there's certain areas where gray jays are known to go, and the snowmobilers will go out and stop, and the gray jays come down to them, and it's an experience.
Get the food from you.
Yeah, they'll
I've had them eat out of my hands more than once.
They'll happily take snacks. So I'm sorry, I digress. So. Additional habitat management we've really been focusing on in the past few years, working with the University of Vermont and the forestry crews out of the University of Vermont to better understand how we can prescriptively kind of tease apart some of these habitats and then do enrichment planting. So we've been planting on the scale of 15 to 19,000, mostly red spruce and white pine seedlings every year.
Okay.
So going in, removing the intolerant hardwood, and then coming back in and trying to restore certain genotypes that we want to bring and back onto the landscape to try to benefit these species.
So this is all part of a long-range plan.
This is a long-term.
Bring the habitat back to what it might have been 50 years ago.
Precisely. Yep. Understanding that our climate is changing.
Right.
Some summers we have really dry, hot summers. Other summers are really wet. Some summers we have droughts and floods. So how do I, as a land manager, and the team that I work with, come up with prescriptive treatments that are ultimately going to benefit that habitat for the long term? Because ultimately the currency of our success is biodiversity.
Right.
And that's how we measure our success. We're different than the National Park Service. We're not measuring our success by how many people we bring to the National Wildlife Refuge. It's how successful are we improving and restoring the biodiversity of these lands that we're stewards of.
Right.
And
in reality, the habitat is what determines all the species we want to see.
100%.
Whether it's our largest mammal, the moose, or the little
Canada warbler. Yeah. You name it.
Or the hare.
Yeah.
And it's the habitat that determines whether or not they're going to be there or not. And same thing with your woodcock.
Yep. Yeah, it all comes down to the habitat. It may be the aquatic habitat for wood turtles and brook trout, or it may be the terrestrial habitat for neotropical migratory birds like Canada warblers and Blackburnian warblers, or it could be for state endangered spruce grouse.
Right.
Nulhegan Basin is home to roughly 3/4 of all the habitat in the state for state-listed spruce grouse.
Yeah.
So we want to make sure that when we're managing these lands, we're not doing something that is going to negatively affect these species as well.
And you border across the road Wenlock, which was a spruce grouse, was purchased because of spruce grouse.
Yeah, it's Nulhegan Basin is nested within a greater mosaic of 100,000, 150,000 acres of conserved lands. You've got Wenlock Management Area, you've got West Mountain Management Area. Weyerhaeuser owns about 88,000 acres that surrounds the refuge, and there's easements on the warehouse parcel as well. So it's a very large complex of conserved lands.
Right.
And each landowner has a slightly different way of managing their lands based on what their purposes are. For the Conte Refuge, we have specific legislated purposes that focus on improving and restoring biodiversity. There's also a step down of making sure that we're allowing for recreation and research. So an upcoming project that's really just getting going now, Gary, it's a landscape level project. It's on the order of at least 500 acres so far, and it's what we would call a variable density treatment. So we're going in and we've painted boundaries of, there's at least 25 different smaller management units that will go in and pull out certain tree types, because we know certain trees are more likely to live longer in this changing climate, like red spruce.
Right.
Like we're targeting to leave red spruce and then pull out other species that are not so well adapted to a changing climate. And what we want to understand better is how do these species that rely on this kind of subboreal habitat, how are they impacted when we're doing these treatments? So in advance of the SAW crews coming in the next few weeks, we've been out trapping snowshoe hare, putting collars on snowshoe hare, radio telemetry collars, GPS collars. We also have a whole network of autonomous recording units that have been recording bird songs for the past 2 years to understand kind of pre-treatment. What do we have on the landscape? And then we'll continue to analyze that post-treatment coming into the future years, because we want to understand better when you're doing land management. It's kind of a zero-sum game. Not every species is going to benefit from the management we do.
Right.
And we want to know what the consequences are.
Right.
We know that when we have a treatment, that snowshoe hare might temporarily stay there and benefit from all of that brush, but eventually that cover is going to break down and they'll move out of the area.
Right.
And we want to understand dispersal of snowshoe hare, and then ultimately, when do they come back? So we want to know survival, mortality. So this research will be going on for a number of years, and that's a research partnership with the University of Vermont, University of New Hampshire, and University of North Dakota.
Oh, wow.
Are all directly involved with that. And
So you have a lot of representatives from the colleges you mentioned working on the projects and coming over and doing some of the research?
We do. We no longer have a wildlife biologist on staff at the Conte Refuge. That position remains vacant, unfortunately, at this time. So we lean heavily on our academic partners. This summer, for example, University of Vermont has had 14 undergrad and grad students on the refuge all summer, collecting vegetation data, collecting bird data, collecting small mammal data. We provide the housing. So the Fish and Wildlife Service provides the housing, and they do all of the data collection. So it's really a unique partnership.
Great.
And that's a long-term research.
But it's real work for them.
It's
not.
Oh, it's real work. If anyone's ever walked through a regenerating clear cut, it's pretty brutal work to swim your way through.
But it's not just reading a dry textbook. They're actually seeing what they've been studying.
Oh, they're out there every day feeding the black flies and the deer flies. Absolutely.
Well, good.
Yeah.
That should take some of the pressure off me.
Yeah, right.
I think that's a good place for us to pause.
Okay.
It's the St. Johnsbury Chrysler Dodge Jeep Rams Outdoor Edge on YKR Country.
So where's the big deal?
Holy schmoly, it's Matt LeCuyer from the Auto Saver Group, St. Johnsbury Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. The Make This the Summer event is going on right now, and anyone can lease a brand new 2026 Ram 1500 Bighorn Crew Cab four-wheel drive for just $549 a month with zero due at signing. But wait, if you have a current Stellantis lease, just $499 a month gets you behind the wheel of one of America's most awarded full-size trucks. The 2026 Ram 1500 Bighorn delivers legendary capability, a comfortable premium interior, advanced technology, and the strength to handle work, weekends, and everything in between. At St. Johnsbury Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, we're making it easier than ever to upgrade your vehicle. Plus, you can get an instant trade value, browse our inventory, or even build your deal online at stjohnsburycdjr.com. Visit us today at 220 Memorial Drive in St. Johnsbury, Vermont, just past the railroad tracks, or shop us online anytime, stjohnsburycdjr.com.
Stock number SJR 26119. 10,000 miles per year, 32,500 total miles. 30 cents per mile over. Tax, title, registration extra. This Ram is available to everyone at $549 per month, but current Stellantis leases pay only $499. Offer expires 8/3/26.
St. Johnsbury Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, where Vermont comes to drive.
In this part of the world, summer always feels a little bit borrowed. So when the sun's out, folks around here put it to good use. Whether it's fishing, target practice, or just looking for an excuse to stay outside till dark, CCR Sports in St. Johnsbury has the gear and supplies to help. Before the weekend gets away from you, make sure you're ready for it. Visit ccrsports.net today. CCR Sports has something for all seasons and all ages. And summer's too short to spend half of it looking for what you need. That's ccrsports.net.
Every business story starts small. As you share your story, it creates movement, and movement builds momentum. Your social media and website are the conduits for that story. It's about more than clicks and views. It's about creating connection, community, and opportunity to do business. It's time to tell your story. Go to northeastkingdomonline.com. Our local Vermont team can help you get more from your online media. Once again, that's northeastkingdomonline.com.
Welcome back to Thoughts on the Outdoors. If you're just joining me, my guest tonight is Steve Agius, the manager of the Conte National Wildlife Refuge, Nulhegan Basin, and Pondicherry Refuge, concerning both New Hampshire and Vermont. Steve, we talked a lot about the Nulhegan Basin. Let's talk a little bit about Pondicherry over in, Whitefield, Dalton?
Whitefield, Jefferson, and Carroll.
Jefferson, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so Pondicherry.
I didn't mean Dalton, sorry.
Pondicherry is a beautiful place. If anyone hasn't visited there, it has the presidential recreational rail trail that the New Hampshire Trails Bureau owns and maintains that goes through the refuge. So it's really easy access.
Right.
So you have
people. I've taken people there. It's almost flat.
Yes.
You're walking on an old rail bed.
You're walking on an old rail bed.
You're not hiking uphill and down. So people with limited mobility can easily get in there.
Families with strollers. We've seen people with wheelchairs out there, walkers. It's fairly easy access. There are two primary access points for the rail trail that gets you into the center of Pondicherry. And Pondicherry, when you get into it, there's Cherry Pond and then Little Cherry Pond. Mm-hmm. I would encourage any of your listeners, if they want an easy walk, to go out on the rail trail and go out to the observation platform, the Tudor Richards observation platform.
Right.
And the view from there is spectacular, Gary.
Take your binoculars.
Yes. Yes, and it's the backdrop. In the foreground you've got Cherry Pond, and in the background it's all the presidential range. So it's Mount Washington. You go there in the fall, and it's just it's spectacular.
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
Spectacular. The whole idea of having you on, I've been amazed at what's to offer on both the Nulhegan and then the Pondicherry divisions of the refuge. And it's unfortunate that more people don't take advantage, but I think often they just don't understand. In the case of Pondicherry, a lot of people think man, I'm too old to walk into a refuge, but you can go into Pondicherry.
Yeah.
You've got a huge road network in the Nulhegan Basin Division. They can drive to a lot of outlooks and sites and so forth.
You bring up a good point about mobility. We've really been trying in the past decade to improve opportunities for mobility. So not only at Pondicherry is there the rail trail, there's also the Mud Pond Trail, which is a national recreation trail, which is ADA accessible, that goes out to Mud Pond to an overlook. But then coming back across into Vermont to the Nulhegan Basin, there's 40 miles of gravel roads that people can drive on. In the winter, it's groomed for snowmobiling. In the mud season, it's closed for mud season. So generally March, April into May. But otherwise, the rest of the year, Nulhegan Basin is open. Anyone can drive out there. Right. There's the visitor center, which is free, and it's open 365 days a year.
And it's fantastic.
We have a bunch of exhibits that really focus and try to highlight on the history of the area and current management of the area. But if folks are looking for somewhere to get out and explore, certainly stop by the visitor center. We're not always staffed because we are pretty reduced in staff these days, but the visitor center is an automated building. It's open 365 days a year, 8 a.m. to 4:30 every day. There are maps available on the front desk that can help folks to locate where on the refuge to go explore. We have 5 elevated boardwalks that go out to viewing platforms that really highlight the different habitat types on the refuge. It could be the Molly Beatty boardwalk in a black spruce bog. It could be the Yellow Branch boardwalk that really focuses on beaver flowages. There's another boardwalk at Lewis Pond, and that focuses on Lewis Pond itself. There's also the Lewis Pond Overlook. If anyone
Which is a fantastic place to have a lunch.
Yes, the Lewis Pond Overlook is, I'm biased, but probably one of the finest panoramic views in northern Vermont. If you go there on a clear day, it's about a 45-minute drive north of the refuge on the refuge roads. But if you go there for a picnic lunch and you pick a clear day, the view takes you across Nulhegan Basin, across the Connecticut River Valley, and into the White Mountains in Hampshire, and it is gorgeous.
And you can look to the west to Mansfield and Camel's Hump.
Yeah.
I mean, you're right. It's a huge, expansive view.
It is. It is.
And like I say, a wonderful place to have a lunch.
And the Nulhegan Basin Division, as with the other Conte divisions, they're open for recreation. So national wildlife refuges generally allow what are considered compatible uses. So for the Conte refuge, it's going to be hiking, wildlife viewing, photography, interpretation, environmental education, and hunting and fishing. With Nulhegan, there's certainly bike riding, and there's going to be snowmobiling, cross-country skiing. So the refuge is open for people to get out and enjoy.
Right. And earlier you talked about the culvert projects. You're talking trout habitat. I mean, it's place for fishermen to go too.
Oh yeah. There's great fishing
for brook trout.
I'm not going to say the entire refuge is exceptional fishing. You're going to have to work for it in places because some of the streams do meander through bogs, and the bogs change the pH and the temperature of the water. But the Black Branch and the North Branch and the Nulhegan River both go through the refuge, and they are excellent brook trout fishing.
Yeah, good. Getting back to the refuge headquarters, the visitor center, that large diorama that would you push buttons, it's really self-explanatory. And I would emphasize visiting the refuge center is good for adults, but it's wonderful for young people too.
Yes.
I mean, there's something there for everybody to learn more about the refuge and what's there and so forth. I can't encourage you enough to visit the Conte Refuge Visitor Center. Our time is about up. Steve, what should we tell people that we haven't already?
One thing that I didn't highlight, Gary, is that the Conte Refuge is part of a network of national wildlife refuges. So similar to the National Park Service, the wildlife refuge system spans across the country. So no matter what state you are in, there are national wildlife refuges that are open to the public. There's 570 national wildlife refuges. They range anywhere from a single acre in size to Arctic refuges over 20 million acres in size. Conte Refuge is one of those 570 national wildlife refuges. So get out, explore your national wildlife refuge, being the Conte Refuge, or if you're over on the Lake Champlain side of the state, Missisquoi National Wildlife Refuge up in Swanton.
The big waterfowl refuge.
Yeah, really, really great place for birding.
Yep. Well, great. I can't encourage you enough, people. Visit to these refuges. You own a part of them. And as Steve said, they're all over the U.S. I've been to many, and they're always wonderful places. My suggestion is stop at the Refuge Center just west of Bloomfield. Take a look there, pick up a map, and do some exploring of the refuge on your own. Drive around some of those many, many miles of road. See the different habitats. Go to some of the lookouts and boardwalks. It's a great way to spend some time. And likewise, don't forget to go over to New Hampshire and Pondicherry. A totally different concept, but a wonderful place to visit with a network of trails in addition to the rail trail. Steve, I want to thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you, Gary. This has been great.
Look forward to talking with you again.
Been a pleasure. Thank you.
It's a St. Johnsbury Chrysler Dodge Jeep Rams Outdoor Edge on YKR Country.
At R&L Archery, we know it's not just about the thrill of the hunt or the size of the fish. It's about the moments that matter most, the traditions passed down from one generation to the next, and the stories told by the fire long after the sun is set. It's about the journey, the memories, and the time spent together with friends and family, because these are the moments that truly last a lifetime. R&L Archery, where every adventure begins. Come create your story.
I'm John Pellegrini with the Vermont Sporting Journal. If you care about hunting, fishing, trapping, wildlife, and the outdoor traditions that make Vermont special, I invite you to pick up a copy of the Vermont Sporting Journal. We cover the stories, seasons, people, and issues that matter to sportsmen and women across the Green Mountain State. Pick up your free copy at most hometown convenience stores or read more online at VermontSportingJournal.com. Once again, VermontSportingJournal.com.
You've picked the paint colors, maybe even sketched a layout on the back of an envelope. But when it comes to design, vision is only the first step. Riverside Design Works in Bradford provides comprehensive planning and pre-construction services for homeowners and businesses throughout the Upper Valley. From initial concepts to detailed plans, process is simple, thoughtful, and functional with creative solutions for all budgets. Find out more at riversidedw.com. Riverside Design Works. Don't just dream it, build it.
All right, now coming up next is Jason Cartwright joins us on the Summer Activities Report with a preview of this year's Landaff Old Home Day. We'll find out what's planned and why this event means so much for the community and why you do not want to miss it. So he was in a couple days ago and we had a great conversation, and that's coming up right now. Joining us in the studio, we're talking about the North Country's favorite summer traditions. Joining me is Jason Cartwright, president of the Landaff Volunteer Fire Association, to tell us about this year's Landaff Old Home Day, happening Saturday, August 15th. It's a full day of auctions, great food, live music, family activities, and community spirit, all while supporting one of New Hampshire's last all-volunteer fire departments. Jason, thanks for coming by.
Thank you for having me.
So for someone who's never been to the Landaff Old Home Day, give us the overview. What can people expect when they arrive?
You never know what you're going to find, and the auction is always exciting. People donate goods from either businesses or their homes. Some new, some things are used and well-loved, but there's always great finds there for anything you could think of.
So you did mention the annual auction, and that starts at 9 o'clock. Is that true?
That's right. Preview and registration starts at 8.
Okay.
The actual auction kicks off at 9, ends around noon.
Yeah. And how much of that you mentioned too is how many of that is donated things from friends and family, and how much of that is donated from businesses?
It's probably around 60-40, 60 in families and townspeople around the area, and the rest from businesses.
Okay. And one thing I always hear about people talking about is the food. What's on the menu this year for the benefit supper this year?
Yes, this year we're changing up a little bit and having smoked brisket with smoked chicken made by a guy that's been smoking for years and tuning his craft. It's really good, and it's a lot of fun as well. Great community.
Okay. And besides the auction and the supper, what are some of the other activities that kind of make this fun day for families?
Well, the Friends of Landaff are going to have a booth where they sell memorabilia and custom-made things that they make, as well as Parker Hill Road Band is going to play from 5:30 to 7:30 outside of the town hall. So people enjoying dinner can do that, or you can just come by for the music.
Yeah, you mentioned the Parker Hill Road Band, and that is going to be happening, kind of wrapping up the day a bit then.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right.
All right. And so every ticket, auction bid, and raffle purchase goes there to help the Landaff Volunteer Fire Department. Where do those dollars go, and why are they so important?
Well, they're important because while we receive a small budget from the town, anything else that the fire, and that meets the basic needs of the fire department. But anytime we need additional gear or have wants or needs that we think will make the firefighting better for us, or we make sure we get that. This year we did buy 2 containers for storage, and a few other things that were great for the department.
Right. What would you say to someone who's looking for a good Saturday road trip but has never visited Landaff before?
Well, just coming into Landaff, I know a lot of people say they drive by the highways, but you turn up into the hills of Landaff, and it's a beautiful area. The people are welcoming, and the event is fun and lively, lots of laughter, lots of jokes. We'll also have a bounce house for the kids, and other activities for the kids to enjoy. So you can bring them and attend the auction while the kids are playing right behind the tent.
And so are there any new attractions or surprises planned for this year for returning visitors that they should watch out for?
Yes, this year, anyone under the age of 30 is going to get a 5% rebate at checkout. Huh. So we're trying to encourage new and younger members to show up. And so that 5% rebate hopefully will attract those under 30.
I mean, and also too, Jason, the raffle always draws a lot of attention. Can you tell us a little bit about some of the prizes people could win?
Well, the grand prize is a cord of wood from Country Comfort, business in Landaff. Then there's also gift certificates ranging from $25 to $100 for area restaurants like Chang Tai, 99 Restaurant, and a few others.
Okay. So we're talking to Jason Cartwright, who is the president of the Landaff Volunteer Fire Association, and we're chatting about the Landaff Old Home Day happening Saturday, August 15th. So for someone, Jason, who wants to support the Fire Association but can't stay all day, are there other ways they can help?
Well, we do just accept donations. But if you can come up and volunteer for serving the dinner or even helping at the auction, that's always appreciated as well. We're always looking for volunteers. And like I said, we're very welcoming and supportive of everybody that shows up.
Right. And so what do you think makes Landaff Old Home Day different from other community festivals around the area?
Well, I think it's the intimacy of the event and the dinner. So the auction being kind of a smaller, intimate feel. Plus, you get to see all of the firefighters working. You get to meet your neighbors and people in the community. So if you're new to the community, it's great to get out and meet some new people and friends.
Right. And if people want to learn more about this and participate, where's the best place they could go to?
We have a Facebook page for Landaff Volunteer Fire Department is the best place to go. If you have any questions, you can email landaffvfd@gmail.com. We'll have ads in Bridge Weekly, and there's posters hanging up and around towns.
Right. So, Jason, any final comments?
Well, I hope to see everybody out there. Rain or shine, it's going to be a great day. Lots of fun. Like I said, lots of laughs and good times.
So thanks for coming in today, Jason. Landaff Old Home Day is happening Saturday, August 15th at the Landaff Town Center. The auction gets underway at 9 a.m., followed by family activities, vendors, raffle prizes, and the famous snack stand, a benefit supper featuring smoked brisket and chicken and live bluegrass from the Parker Hill Road Band. All benefits the Landaff Volunteer Fire Department and its scholarship fund. We hope to see a great crowd in Landaff on August 15th. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And that was a conversation I had earlier this week with Jason Cartwright. Now, still ahead, Mark Breen from Fairbanks Museum joins us with our Outdoor Edge forecast, helping you make the most of your outdoor plans across Vermont and New Hampshire. That's coming up after these brief sponsored breaks.
It's the St. Johnsbury Chrysler Dodge Jeep Rams Outdoor Edge on YKR Country.
We live somewhere incredible, and all of us at the Vermont Fish and Wildlife Department want you to make the most of it. Hiking, hunting, birding, fishing, or even just sitting by a stream for a few minutes after work. Vermont's woods and waters make it possible, and protecting them is our responsibility. So we hope you'll lace up your boots and hike an old woods road on one of our wildlife management areas, or put in for a day at the lake at one of our access areas. We protect these places for their own sake, for the wildlife who call them home, and for you.
When the sun is high and the to-do list grows, it's time to call the folks who know. From mudroom builds to summer repairs, Batchelder shows up and truly cares. Remodels, upgrades, porches too. No job too small, they'll see it through. So make this summer your best one yet. With VTCarpenter.com, your safest bet.
It's a St. Johnsbury Chrysler Dodge Jeep Rams Outdoor Edge on YKR Country.
So where's the big deal?
Holy shmoly, it's Matt LeClaire from the Autosaver Group, St. Johnsbury Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. Right now we're offering up to 20% off on our incredible selection of 2026 Ram 1500 crew cabs. That's right, save thousands on America's most awarded light-duty truck. Whether you're looking for a hard-working tradesman, a loaded bighorn, or a luxurious Laramie, we've got the truck that fits your lifestyle and budget. And don't forget, every new Ram comes backed by the industry's best 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain warranty, but only ours comes with 2 years of free maintenance and lifetime state inspections at no additional cost for added peace of mind. Inventory is moving fast, so don't wait. Visit us today at St. Johnsbury Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, just past the railroad tracks in St. Johnsbury, Vermont, or shop us anytime at stjohnsburycdjr.com.
Savings vary by model and stock number. Up to 20% off MSRP on select in-stock 2026 Ram 1500 models. Tax title registration extra. Offer ends 8/3/2026.
St. Johnsbury Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, where Vermont comes to drive.
Every business story starts small. As you share your story, it creates movement, and movement builds momentum. Your social media and website are the conduits for that story. It's about more than clicks and views. It's about creating connection, community, and opportunity to do business. It's time to tell your story. Go to northeastkingdomonline.com. Our local Vermont team can help you get more from your online media. Once again, that's northeastkingdomonline.com.
I'm Mark Breen. Welcome to your Outdoor Edge forecast. Steamy, stagnant summer weather has settled in for the first part of August. Nothing unusual, but it certainly requires the routine that you've developed to stay as comfortable as possible. For some of us, it's the lake or the pond or our favorite swimming hole, although water levels are on the low side, so stream flows have taken on their usual late summer sluggishness. Our weather setup features what's called the Bermuda High. This semi-persistent area of high pressure extends from Bermuda east into the middle of the North Atlantic. It actually fits into a larger picture of the weather's global circulation, with high pressure the dominant weather system close to 30 degrees latitude on a globe or map. And what do we find along that line? All the major deserts in the Northern Hemisphere, including the Sahara, but also the deserts of the southwestern U.S. Over the ocean, this persistent area of high pressure to our south sometimes expands west and north, and that's what it's doing right now. This creates a southwest airflow, which for us draws the steamy air from the Gulf Coast states into the northeastern U.S., our classic summertime hazy, hot, humid weather. This particular spell isn't extreme, so hot might be a relative term, but plan on at least some mid to upper 80s during the days and 60s at night through the weekend. August can also be the time that the tropics start to percolate, but there's not much activity at the moment. Perhaps you've caught some news about an El Nino or Super El Nino forming in the Pacific. This tends to suppress hurricane activity, which has its benefits. If you're not a fan of the warm, humid side of summer, there are indications that later next week, the weather pattern shifts back towards something similar to the last 2 weeks of July, which were cooler than average. Rainfall, however, doesn't look overly productive, something we'll keep in mind in terms of water supplies later this month into the fall. Now, a look at the details of the forecast through the weekend. Tonight, there will be some localized showers or a thunderstorm, some of them with some briefly heavier downpours, but they will be hit or miss. It'll give way to partly cloudy skies overnight, a warm and rather muggy night, lows holding in the 60s. For Friday, partly to mostly sunny. It'll be a warm, steamy day, mid and upper 80s tomorrow afternoon. For tomorrow night, Friday night, partly cloudy, then more clouds after midnight, and a chance of showers, muggy in the 60s. Saturday, cloudy and humid, with showers becoming likely, perhaps a thunderstorm. Highs on Saturday, 80 to 85. Saturday night, a chance of evening showers or a thunderstorm tapering off. Partial clearing and still rather humid, still in the 60s. But Sunday, becoming partly sunny, not as warm, and a bit less humid. Highs on Sunday, 80 to 85. That's your Outdoor Edge forecast. I'm Fairbanks Museum meteorologist Mark Breen. Be safe and enjoy the great outdoors.
Thank you so much, Mark. And for those that were listening, we are also pleased to welcome a new sponsor to the Outdoor Edge, Countrified Kennels, LLC. And they offer board and train programs, private in-home lessons, and puppy and obedience training, and behavior support for dogs of all breeds and ages. So whether your dog needs better manners or advanced training, Countrified Kennels is ready to help. You can learn more at countrifiedkennels.com. And their training includes the owner, too, so private lessons are designed to teach the person as well as a dog, while their board and training programs includes pickup lessons and 3 follow-up lessons at home. That transitional support is a strong point, and their board and train program is structured. They handle more than basic manners. Their behavior work can address resource guarding, dog aggression, and fear aggression, jumping, biting, and other concerns. And also Countrified Kennels, LLC. They have an active online following as well. Their primary Instagram account has over 2,000. Their slogan kind of fits the heart of the business. It's training strong dogs, building stronger bonds. That gives a natural way to connect professional training with happier families. And Countrified Kennels isn't just about teaching the family dog to sit and stay. They also work with hunting hounds, tracking dogs, and working line canines. So there's a real connection here between the Outdoor Edge and also Countrified Kennels. So as I say, learn more about them at countrifiedkennels.com. And they are out of the southern part of the Northeast Kingdom over in Danville. So that's going to do it for this week's St. Johnsbury Chrysler Dodge Jeep Rams Outdoor Edge. Our thanks again to Steve Agius for taking us inside the Nulhegan Basin Division of the Silvio O. Conte National Fish and Wildlife Refuge and sharing how this incredible landscape protects wildlife while giving us all opportunities to experience the outdoors. And thanks again as well as to Jason Cartwright for joining us on our summer activities report and giving us a preview of this year's Landaff Old Home Day. It's a great reminder that some of the best traditions are right here in our own backyard. And of course, we want to thank Mark Breen from the Fairbanks Museum for another Outdoor Edge forecast. So remember, if you missed any part of today's program, you can listen to this episode and any other past episodes anywhere on WYKR.com or on the WYKR app and wherever you get your podcasts. So until next time, I want you to enjoy the outdoors, support the events and places that make our region special, and thanks again for listening to the St. Johnsbury Chrysler Dodge Jeep Rams Outdoor Edge.